Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're talking about pliers wrenches. They're definitely getting more and more popular and we found a lot of use for them. We've been adding them, more of them to our tool belts, right? So let's go ahead and take a close look at some of them, right? But we're gonna take a really close look at this one right here, which is the 2-in-1 hybrid type pliers wrench from Klein Tools, kind of between the pliers wrench and then you can kind of get the adjustable jaw type pliers grip on here, right? So this one's really popular and we've got a good bit of interesting use with it, and we also got our thoughts about this one. We're going to take a close look at that and then compare it to the really popular pliers wrench from Knipex. A lot of people are really popular with these, needs no introduction, and then also see how that really compares to the Icon pliers wrench completely sold at Harbor Freight, right? So we're going to go through all of them, give you our thoughts after we've been using them. So if you're interested in pliers wrenches, you don't want to miss this, stick with us. All right, so let me start with a quick intro with just basic pliers wrenches in general, okay? And we're going to go over the basics of it, not the full detail. There's a whole bunch of videos dedicated to pliers wrenches in general, and this, we just want to cover the basics. So if you don't know what a pliers wrench is, it's pretty much you get this wrench, right? As you can see here, like an adjustable wrench function in a setting of a plier form factor, right? So there's a lot of benefits to that. The biggest benefit mainly being you get to work fast. You can adjust this head fast, and you don't always have to pull the nut, bolt, or whatever fastener you're working with completely out of this jaw before being able to rotate it, right? What I mean by that is if you had a nut here, right, and you had an adjustable wrench, you have to, when you're turning something, right, you have to completely remove the wrench from whatever fastener you're working with, move it, right, and then you can turn it again. And sometimes a lot of people know this will get really frustrating if you're in a really tight spot or if you're trying to work fast or something like that. That's a pretty big downside. The biggest benefit to something like a pliers wrench is, you find whatever size fastener you want to work with fast here, like this, right? And as you move it, this nut doesn't have to completely come out of this jaw. So as you open the pliers wrench, right, you can turn it or open it, turn it, open it, turn, grab, pull, right? So that type of deal. So you can move really fast just like this without having to pull the head from the fastener completely, and obviously you get the complete adjustability in this type of manner. The pliers wrench jaws will always move in parallel because, like I said, the fastener that you're really working with is really for a wrench style, right? So that's the main benefit you get. The other benefit to something like a pliers wrench versus just regular pliers is that regular pliers will have like teeth here, or slip joint type adjustable jaw type pliers will have teeth there. And if you're working with something that's a finished fastener or some type of finished surface, you won't really be able to use it well without scratching the surface, right? So a lot of people, sometimes I'll see using pliers wrenches on stuff like bathroom fixtures and things like that, mainly because you don't want to scratch the finished surface using just regular pliers, okay? So basics of pliers wrench, like I said, not all the details. So anyways, we'll start with the Knipex and then we'll move on to the Klein, mainly because I want to show you the basic operation of it before we actually get into some of the changed details. So let me adjust this here. So this one right here is the Knipex 8603250. This one is made in Germany. It even has it stamped on right there. And this one I believe is for up to 52 millimeters and 2 inches, okay? Actually it says right here, so 0 to 52 millimeters and 2 inches. So this one works pretty well. I've kind of had this one for a while. I mainly only use this, I want to say, on bathroom fixtures, mainly because with the Knipex brand, we pay a lot of money for this, right? So this one by no means is cheap. But the basic operation of this is, like I said, you adjust the head, you grab something, you turn it, you move it. It even says on here the marking so you can kind of tell how far you're going. But that's basically the general operation of this pliers wrench. And this one has the adjustable point right here. You press it in, right? And this lever holds this pin in, and that's how that really works, right? So we'll move on from this one to the Icon one here. So Icon, this brand, which is completely only sold at Harbor Freight, I believe it's a Harbor Freight brand, is almost, a lot of people will say, a complete knockoff of the Knipex one, mainly because if you look at them side by side, even the shapes of the teeth, the design, the pivot points, they're all pretty similar, right? So I'm not exactly sure what the deal is, if there was a lawsuit or something like that, but if I had to guess, I'm just going on a limb here, is that the Knipex patent that they had or something like that is probably expired or either running out or whatever, such that, you know, other people can introduce, you know, similar type of design without infringing too badly on a patent and having a really bad lawsuit, right? So who knows? But that's just my guess. So with that being said, you know, I noticed fairly recently, you know, these two entered the market, so we're taking a look at two of these. But like I said, Icon complete sold at Harbor Freight. This doesn't have any markings on it to where it is made. I'm sure it probably had it on the packaging. I just don't have it, but if I had to guess, probably somewhere in Taiwan or China or something like that. But like I said, pretty much almost an exact copy. The head shape is the same, the pivot point is the same, the angles are pretty much the same, right? So the Icon one, I will say, kind of has what most people are going to be familiar with who use Knipex. It's going to be the comfort grip lineup. So this one right here is the regular grip lineup. They have another one which has like a blue insert and the handles are a little bit more cushiony, okay? But this one, the Icon one, is kind of copy of like the handle of the comfort grip, mainly because it just feels a little bit softer, okay? But like I said, operation of it is exactly the same. The way that it works is pivot point here, you adjust where you need to go. This one, interestingly enough, here will say 0 to 50 millimeters, which is about 2 inches, whereas the Knipex will say up to 52 millimeters, which is about 2 inches, right? But the basic operation, like I said, is exactly the same, all right? So now let's move on to what we're here to talk about today, is this Klein Tools one. So this Klein Tools one is the D53010, and I picked this one up at the Home Depot. If you haven't been following the channel, this one has been pretty much on clearance at the Home Depot for whatever reason. I think either Klein Tools is slowly losing market share at Home Depot or whatever you want to call it, or maybe Home Depot's picking up Milwaukee hand tools or something like that. But anyways, they're clearing out a bunch of the Klein Tool stuff here. So we picked this one up. I can't remember if this is the one that we picked up for like 25 bucks or like 15 bucks or something like that, but this one we got a good deal on and we've been using it ever since. So with that being said, this one has that same grip of the Pliers Wrench, right? You can kind of get that adjustable jaw movement going in on here. The pivot point is actually a very similar type of design, but different in terms of the pivot point. Obviously, on all the pliers are going to work generally the same, but this one actually has a pressed in lever, right? So the lever spring function kind of presses that one in, whereas in these, the spring actually holds that pivot point up. So that's one differentiating factor with this, right? For this one, like most Klein Tools that I buy at Home Depot, there's almost like, I want to say, a few ounces of oil just completely inside the packaging, which is fine. You know, I've actually wiped off a bunch of the sawdust, but that's generally how this works, okay? If you look at it this way, it almost looks like some type of reptile with a goatee type deal, right? Some type of like velociraptor. But anyways, let's take it all the way up to the top point here. And if you want to look between the jaws, these jaws are parallel, just like all the Pliers wrenches do. But if you close them real tight here, you can kind of slip almost like a hair between, you know, the point right here, right? So you can kind of see a little bit of sunlight. It does get a little bit, you know, tight here. You probably can't slip a piece of paper or hair to do that, but right up here you can, right? Because that's one small difference, right? So if you want to see that on the Icon one from Klein Tools, you can, or not Klein Tools, from Harbor Freight, you kind of see, you know, light through there. So that's kind of that way. But look at the Knipex all the way up. You can kind of get it at this point where, you know, the jaws haven't been reinforced, right? Right there you can, but where the jaws are completely parallel, that thing is solid. So quality control, fine finish, Knipex, definitely a little bit of a level up there, right? So, like I said, this is a hybrid 2-in-1. So the way that this one works a little bit differently is that, you know, you can pull this all the way out here, and then you can take this bottom jaw off, and then you can flip it, right? Put it back on. Sorry, trying to get it at an angle. And then now, instead of being a Pliers wrench, it kind of looks like a, I don't know, velociraptor, but you kind of get the bottom part of an adjustable grip plier, right? So you can kind of get the same function here. Now you kind of got this Velociraptor looking thing with teeth on it. I'm just kidding, guys. And all realistically, it probably works fine if you're grabbing something like a conduit, right? Because mainly I would say these are probably more designed for electricians, but you kind of get that grippage there. So on something like this, like I said, mainly designed for conduit, you probably wouldn't want to use it on something like a fastener like this, right? So if I were to move this up and try to put on the fastener, that's what the grip on the fastener would really look like, right? So that's not great. Obviously, I probably don't have it at the best size it could really be at, but if I move it down, probably at the best size, nope. You're looking at something like this, right? So it's not the best in terms of moving with fasteners, right? You can get it to work, but this is mainly going to be designed, this V groove here, you're going to be getting the best grip for conduit, right? And this is not designed for going one direction or the other. If you look at the way that the teeth are facing, right? Look at the way the teeth are facing. It's really designed for you to pull the pliers in this direction, right? Because you see here, the teeth are going that way. And that's kind of really how you get the maximum leverage with that point. So with the few quick moves, you can adjust it from an adjustable wrench plier to, you know, a adjustable grip, adjustable, what do you call it? Pliers with teeth. It's not like a Cobra, mainly because, you know, the Cobra kind of has both, right? Knipex Cobra, but it is pretty well. It's kind of like a 2-in-1, which kind of makes it a pretty neat tool to carry in your belt, so that you don't have to carry two tools. But you know, if you're looking for the best of the best, you're probably going to be carrying one of these and then one of the actual Knipex Cobras. So this stuff here works generally pretty well in that manner. We've obviously got, you know, a little bit of use out of this, but it does work pretty well, okay? Let's talk about the main differences, right? So the main differences between this is going to be, I would say, probably 3 primary factors, right? 1, it's going to be where it's made. 2 is going to be really the tolerances, right? So if you look at this, you kind of get a good bit of movement there. This one, Icon Tools, you get a little bit of movement there too. On the Knipex, you also get a little bit of movement, but nowhere nearly as much flex there, right? So the tolerances on the Knipex are definitely the best. I would say the Klein Tools actually moves quite a bit, and then the Icon one I would say is maybe a smidge better, right? But those tolerances, and then the amount of sponginess or the grippiness, right? So if I were to grab something like this, right? This nut bolt in here, you can see if I grab this hard, there's a bit amount of like handle movement there to make that happen, right? So if I were to grab it on here, the Icon one, right? You can see there's a bit of movement there. And it's not just the sponginess or the comfort handle type deal here, but the actual amount of force that you're applying to this kind of bends, or applies more force here, but kind of bends a little bit of the metal, right? So if I want to do that to the Knipex one here, trying to find the same size grip here, right? You can kind of, sorry, probably don't want to make it even. Let's go here. There you go, right? So as you can see here, I'm putting just about the same amount of force on it, and there's almost like no flex. I mean, there's a little bit of flex, right? But nowhere nearly as amount of flex as you see with these 2 other tools here. That's kind of the biggest benefit to this Knipex one. And then the other thing I would really say is if you're used to using the Knipex type style pliers, the handle movement is going to be vastly different than the Klein Tools one. What I mean by that is, here, let's move this one out the way. See, both of these are kind of set up to be about the same head size, right? But if you look at it here, right, in the full resting position, these 2 are touching, right? So if you look at this one here, the Knipex one, they are this much open, right? So these kind of stay parallel in that manner, whereas the Klein Tools has really, you know, kind of gotten full touch there. So if you're looking at it in a different manner, and I want to go 2 times bigger here or so, right? So now this has stayed parallel, and then this one has also stayed a little bit parallel, but actually has moved out a little bit, right? But if you want to go to full size strength, right, go all the way down here to the bottom, now you're looking at it like this, right, versus the Klein Tools, which is, here, let me line this up here, there you go, looking at it like this, right? So look at it this way. So the sizing of it is a little bit different in terms of the handle, because now this handle comes all the way out like a V, and this one also comes all the way out like a V. But as this one moves up here, now we're not touching, right? But as we move somewhere to, like, say this size bolt here, now we're touching, and then we come all the way out here, and now it's like a V, right? So it goes from V to touching somewhere here, right? And then now we're not touching, right? So that's interesting, mainly because this one is, you know, a V size here. If you want to go to grab this bolt here, right? Now we're parallel, but if I go all the way up to here, we're also kind of parallel. So this one I would say is more of a linear movement in terms of the handle spread, right? When you're using it versus this one, which kind of has like this weird handle grip. And I still haven't gotten used to the amount of adjustability with this, because if I open this one up all the way, right, look, that's about how much space that we're getting. If I open this one up all the way, we're getting about that much space too. So the jaw movement, I want to say, is pretty similar in terms of the amount the jaw opens as the handle spreads, but the amount of handle movement required to kind of close that jaw is vastly different between this one, right, and this one, or this style, right? So same is true with the Icon one. The Icon one is very similar. The angle of the handles is going to be the same on the Icon and the Knipex, whereas the Klein Tools one is just a little bit different than that. But with this, with the Icon and the Knipex, you don't really get to adjust this one around, right? And then be able to use like grip some conduit pipe here, right? So, or EMT or whatever. So that's a big plus for this one, whereas that one cannot. All right, you guys, so that's a quick look at all three of them, the main differences. If I had to really pick and choose, like I said, there are three major differences, is that sometimes I really do like having both, mainly because, you know, if you're actually working with the Pliers Wrench style needs, the Knipex, that by hands down, by far is definitely the best. The tolerances is the best. The strength of the grippiness is the best. If you have the comfort grip handle one, you know, you obviously got a little bit better one. The Icon one is really close second copy. And then the, what do you call this? The Klein Tools 2-in-1 hybrid deal is a really good copy also. The hybrid one also has a plus of being able to have the jaws, right, reversed. So this one I kind of carry in more of like an electrician's pouch type style, mainly because this actually does become useful in some points, because it can kind of replace 2-in-1, right? So a lot of people will say, what is the saying, like jack of all trades but master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one, right? I think that's the whole saying or something like that. But you know, they all have their pros and cons. If I were to go back and say, okay, well, this is like 15 bucks, right? This is a steal for 15 bucks. This, I forget how much it was. If I had to guess, probably somewhere between 40 or 60 bucks, right? And then this Icon one, I don't remember how much you paid for it, but if you, I think there was, we were to get some kind of special on it. I think it was like 35 or 25 bucks or something like that. So most expensive Knipex, best tolerances, quality made in Germany type seal. You get, I think the Icon one, you know, it gets a little bit more sloppier, I would say, tolerances. I'm not sure where it's made. And then this one, I'll say there's no way that you're going to be picking these up unless you go pick them up right now at the release of this video, around clearances at the depot or something like that, for about 15 bucks. I don't remember how much this one average goes for, but you know, if I had to pick and choose, if I were to spend, let's just say 50 bucks on with this one or this one, right? Depending on what my application is, I'll probably pick this one, mainly because I really like the finesse and the tolerances of this one. But if I had to spend 15 bucks on one tool to get, you know, 2 jobs done, I'll probably get this one, mainly because you get 2 tools at one. But you're not going to be getting the best tolerances. And yes, you can work with that, right? Like I said, this is just my own opinion. You know, everybody has their own. So hopefully this video helped you guys out in case you had thoughts or comparison between which ones really get. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.